In the living room, the voice clock sang. Tick-tock, 7 o'clock, time to get up, time to get up, 7 o'clock, as if it were afraid that nobody would. The morning house lay empty. The clock ticked on, repeating and repeating its sounds into the emptiness. 7-9, breakfast time, 7-9. In the kitchen, the breakfast stove gave a hissing sigh and ejected its warm interior 8 pieces of perfectly brown toast, 8 eggs sunny side up, 16 slices of bacon, 2 coffees, and 2 cool glasses of milk. Today is August 4, 2026, said a second voice from the kitchen ceiling, in the city of Allendale, California. It repeated the date 3 times for memory's sake. Today is Mr. Featherstone's birthday. Today is the anniversary of Talita's marriage. Insurance is payable, as are the water, gas, and light bills. Somewhere in the walls, relays clicked, memory tapes glided under electric eyes. 8-1, tick-tock. 8-1 o'clock, off to school, off to work, run, run, 8-1. But no doors slammed, no carpets took the soft tread of rubber heels. It was raining outside. The weather box on the front door sang quietly, rain, rain, go away, rubber's raincoats for today. And the rain tapped on the empty house, echoing. Outside, the garage chimed and lifted its doors to reveal the waiting car. After a long wait, the door swung down again. At 8:30, the eggs were shriveled and the toast was like stone. An aluminum wedge scraped them into the sink, where hot water whirled them down a metal throat which digested and flushed them away to the distant sea. The dirty dishes were dropped into a hot washer and emerged twinkling dry. 9:15 sang the clock, time to clean. Out of the warrens in the wall, tiny robot mice darted. The rooms were a-crawl with the small cleaning animals, all rubber and metal. They thudded against chairs, whirling their mustached runners, kneading the rug mat, sucking gently at hidden dust. Then, like mysterious invaders, they popped into their burrows. Their pink electric eyes faded. The house was clean. 10 o'clock. The sun came out from behind the rain. The house stood alone in a city of rubble and ashes. This was the one house left standing. At night, the ruined city gave off a radioactive glow which could be seen for miles. 10:15. The garden sprinklers whirled up in golden founts, filling the soft morning air with scatterings of brightness. The water-pelted window panes running down the charred west side where the house had been burned evenly free of its white paint. The entire west face of the house was black, save for 5 places. Here the silhouette and paint of a man mowing a lawn. Here, as in a photograph, a woman bent to pick flowers. Still farther over, their images burned on wood in one titanic instant. A small boy, hands flung into the air. Higher up, the image of a thrown ball, and opposite him, a girl, hands raised to catch the ball, which never came down. The 5 spots of paint, the man, the woman, the children, the ball, remained. The rest was a thin charcoal layer. The gentle sprinkler rain filled the garden with falling light. Until this day, how well the house had kept its peace. How carefully it had inquired, who goes there? What's the password? And, getting no answer from lonely foxes and whining cats, it had shut up its windows and drawn shades in an old maidenly preoccupation with self-protection which bordered on a mechanical paranoia. It quivered at each sound, the house did. If a sparrow brushed a window, the shade snapped up. The bird, startled, flew off. No, not even a bird must touch the house. The house was an altar with 10,000 attendants, big, small, servicing, attending in choirs. But the gods had gone away, and the ritual of the religion continued senselessly, uselessly. 12 noon. A dog whined, shivering on the front porch. The front door recognized the dog voice and opened. The dog, once huge and fleshy, but now gone to bone and covered with sores, moved in and through the house, tracking mud. Behind it whirled angry mice, angry at having to pick up mud, angry at inconvenience. For not a leaf fragment blew under the door, but what the wall panels flipped open, and the copper scrap rats flashed swiftly out. The offending dust, hair, or paper, seized in miniature steel jaws, was raced back to the burrows. There, down tubes which fed into the cellar, it was dropped into the sign vent of an incinerator which sat like evil Baal in a dark corner. The dog ran upstairs, hysterically yelping to each door, at last realizing, as the house realized, that only silence was here. It sniffed the air and scratched the kitchen door. Behind the door, the stove was making pancakes, which filled the house with a rich baked odor and the scent of maple syrup. The dog frothed at the mouth, lying at the door, sniffing, its eyes turned to fire. It ran wildly in circles, biting at its tail, spun in a frenzy, and died. It lay in the parlor for an hour. 2 o'clock, sang a voice. Delicately sensing decay at last, the regiments of mice hummed out as softly as blown gray leaves in an electrical wind. 2:15. The dog was gone. In the cellar, the incinerator glowed suddenly, and a whirl of sparks leaped up the chimney. 2:35. Bridge tables sprouted from patio walls. Playing cards fluttered onto pads in a shower of pips. Martinis manifested on an oaken bench with egg salad sandwiches. Music played, but the tables were silent and the cards untouched. At 4 o'clock, the tables folded like great butterflies back through the paneled walls. 4:30, the nursery walls glowed. Animals took shape. Yellow giraffes, blue lions, pink antelopes, lilac panthers cavorting in crystal substance. The walls were glass. They looked out upon color and fantasy. Hidden films flopped through well-oiled sprockets, and the walls lived. The nursery floor was woven to resemble a crisp cereal meadow. Over this ran aluminum roaches and iron crickets, and in the hot, still air, butterflies of delicate red tissue wavered among the sharp aroma of animal spores. There was the sound like a great matted yellow hive of bees within a dark bellows, and the lazy bumble of a purring lion. And there was the patter of okapi feet, and the murmur of a fresh jungle rain like other hoofs falling upon the summer-starched grass. Now the walls dissolved into distances of parched weed, mile on mile, and warm, endless sky. The animals drew away into thorn breaks and water holes. It was the children's hour. 5 o'clock, the bath filled with clear hot water. 6, 7, 8 o'clock, the dinner dishes manipulated like magic tricks, and in the study, a click. In the metal stand opposite the hearth, where a fire now blazed up warmly, a cigar popped out, half an inch of soft gray ash on it, smoking, waiting. 9 o'clock. The beds warmed their hidden circuits, for nights were cool here. 9:05. A voice spoke from the study ceiling. Mrs. McClellan, which poem would you like this evening? The house was silent. The voice said at last, since you express no preference, I shall select a poem at random. Quiet music rose to back the voice. Sarah Teasdale, as I recall, your favorite. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire. And not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind neither bird nor tree if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. The fire burned on the stone hearth, and the cigar fell away into a mound of quiet ash on its tray. The empty chairs faced each other between the silent walls, and the music played. At 10 o'clock, the house began to die. The wind blew. A falling tree bough crashed through the kitchen window. Cleaning solvent bottles shattered over the stove. The room was ablaze in an instant. Fire! Screamed a voice. The house lights flashed. Water pumps shot water from the ceilings. But the solvent spread on the linoleum, licking, eating under the kitchen door, while the voices took it up in chorus. Fire! 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 The house tried to save itself. Doors sprang tightly shut, but the windows were broken by the heat, and the wind blew and sucked upon the fire. The house gave ground as the fire, in 10 billion angry sparks, moved with flaming ease from room to room and then up the stairs. While scurrying water rats squeaked from the walls, pistoled their water and ran for more, and the wall sprays let down showers of mechanical rain. But too late. Somewhere, sighing, a pump shrugged to a stop. The quenching rain ceased. The reserve water supply, which had filled baths and washed dishes for many quiet days, was gone. The fire crackled up the stairs. It fed upon Picassos and Matisses in the upper halls like delicacies, baking off the oily flesh, tenderly crisping the canvases into black shavings. Now the fire lay in beds, stood in windows, changed the colors of drapes, and then reinforcements. From attic trapdoors, blind robot faces peered down with faucet mouths, gushing green chemicals. The fire backed off, as even an elephant must at the sight of a dead snake. Now there were 20 snakes whipping over the floor, killing the fire with a cold, clear venom of green froth. But the fire was clever. It had sent flame outside the house, up through the attic to the pumps there. An explosion. The attic brain which directed the pumps was shattered into a bronze shrapnel on the beam. The fire rushed back into every closet and fell to the clothes hung there. The house shuddered, oak bone on bone, its bared skeleton cringing from the heat, its wire, its nerves revealed as if a surgeon had torn the skin off to let the red veins and capillaries quiver in the scalded air. Help! Help! Fire! Run! Run! Heat snapped mirrors like the first brittle winter ice, and the voices wailed, Fire! Fire! Run! Run! Like a tragic nursery rhyme. A dozen voices, high, low, like children dying in a forest, alone. Alone. And the voices faded as the wires pumped their sheathings like hot chestnuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 voices died. In the nursery, the jungle burned. Blue lions roared, purple giraffes bounded off. The panthers ran in circles, changing color, and 10 million animals running before the fire vanished off toward a distant steaming river. 10 more voices died. In the last instant under the fire avalanche, other choruses, oblivious, could be heard announcing the time, playing music, cutting the lawn by remote control more, or setting an umbrella frantically out, and in the slamming and opening front door, 1,000 things happening like a clock shop when each clock strikes the hour insanely before and after the other, a scene of maniac confusion, yet unity. Singing, screaming, a few last cleaning mice darting bravely out to carry the horrid ashes away, and one voice, with sublime disregard for the situation, read poetry aloud in the fiery study until all the film spools burned, until all the wires withered and the circuits cracked. The fire burst the house and let it slam flat down, puffing out skirts of spark and smoke. In the kitchen, an instant before the rain of fire and timber, the stove could be seen making breakfasts at a psychopathic rate. 10 dozen eggs, 6 loaves of toast, 20 dozen bacon strips, which, heated by fire, started the stove working again, hysterically hissing. The crash, the attic smashing into kitchen and parlor, the parlor into cellar, cellar into sub-cellar, deep freeze, armchair, film tapes, circuits, beds, and all like skeletons thrown in a cluttered mound deep under. Smoke and silence. A great quantity of smoke. Dawn showed faintly in the east. Among the ruins, one wall stood alone. Within the wall, a last voice said over and over again and again, even as the sun rose to shine upon the heat, rubble, and steam. Today is August 5, 2026. 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 Today is August They walked slowly down the street at about 10 in the evening, talking calmly. They were both about 35, both eminently sober. "But why so early?" said Smith. "Because," said Brayling, "your first night out in years and you go home at 10 o'clock. Nerves, I suppose. What I wonder is how you ever managed it. I've been trying to get you out for 10 years for a quiet drink. And now, on the one night, you insist on turning in early." "Mustn't crowd my luck," said Brayling. "What did you do? Put sleeping powder in your wife's coffee?" "No, that would be unethical. You'll see soon enough." They turned a corner. "Honestly, Brayling, I hate to say this, but you have been patient with her. You may not admit it to me, but marriage has been awful for you, hasn't it?" "I wouldn't say that. It's got around anyway, here and there, how she got you to marry her. That time back in 1979 when you were going to Rio." "Dear Rio. I never did see it after all my plans." "And how she tore her clothes and rumpled her hair and threatened to call the police unless you married her?" "She was always nervous, Smith, understand? It was more than unfair. You didn't love her. You told her as much, didn't you?" "I recall I was quite firm on the subject." But you married her anyhow. I had my business to think of as well as my mother and father. A thing like that would have killed them. And it's been 10 years. Yes, said Rayling, his gray eyes steady. But I think perhaps it might change now. I think what I've waited for has come about. Look here. He drew forth a long blue ticket. Why, it's a ticket for Rio on the Thursday rocket. Yes, I'm finally going to make it. But how wonderful! You do deserve it. But won't she object? Cause trouble? Rayling smiled nervously. She won't know I'm gone. I'll be back in a month, no one the wiser, except you. Smith sighed. Oh, wish I were going with you. Poor Smith. Your marriage hasn't exactly been roses, has it? Not exactly. Married to a woman who overdoes it. I mean, after all, when you've been married 10 years, don't expect a woman to sit on your lap for 2 hours every evening, call you at work 12 times a day, and talk baby talk. Seems to me that in the last month she's gotten worse. I wonder if perhaps she isn't a little simple-minded. Ah, Smith, always conservative. Well, here's my house. Now, would you like to know my secret? How I made it out this evening? Will you really tell? Look up there, said Rayleigh. They both stared up through the dark air. In the window above them on the second floor, a shade was raised. A man about 35 years old with a touch of gray at either temple, sad gray eyes, and a thin, small mustache looked down at them. My, that's you, cried Smith. Shh, not so loud. Rayleigh waved upward. The man in the window gestured significantly and vanished. I must be insane. Hold on a minute. They waited. The street door of the apartment opened, and the tall, spare gentleman with the mustache and the grieved eyes came out to meet them. Hello, Brayling, he said. Hello, Brayling, said Brayling. They were identical. Smith said, is this your twin brother? I never... No, said Brayling quietly. Then close. Put your ear to Brayling 2's chest. Smith hesitated and then leaned forward to place his head against the uncomplaining rib. Oh, no. It can't be. It is. Let me listen again. Smith staggered back and fluttered his eyelids. A ball. He reached out and touched the warm hand in the cheeks of the thing. Where'd you get him? Isn't he excellently fashioned? It's incredible. Where? Give the man your card, Brayling 2. Brayling 2 did a magic trick and produced a white card. Marionettes Incorporated, it said. Duplicate self or friends. New humanoid plastic 1990 models guaranteed against all physical wear. From $7,600 to our $15,000 deluxe model. No. Yes, said Rayleigh. Naturally, said Rayleigh, too. How long has this gone on? I've had him for a month. I keep him in the cellar in a toolbox. My wife never goes downstairs, and I have the only lock and key to that box. Tonight I said I wished to take a walk to buy a cigar. I went down cellar and took Brayling 2 out of his box and sent him up there to sit with my wife. Well, I came on out to see you, Smith.
Wonderful. Well, even smells like you. Bond Street and Melacrinos.
It may be splitting hairs, but I think it's highly ethical. After all, what my wife wants most of all is me. This marionette is me to the hairiest detail. I've been home all evening. I shall be home with her for the next month. In the meantime, another gentleman will be in Rio after 10 years of waiting. When I return from Rio, Brayling, too, here will go back in his box. Smith thought that over for a minute or two.
Will he walk around without sustenance for a month?
He finally asked. For 6 months, if necessary. And he's built to do everything. Eat, sleep, perspire, everything natural as natural is. You'll take good care of my wife, won't you, Brayling, too? Your wife is rather nice, said Brayling, too. I've grown rather fond of her.
Smith was beginning to tremble. How long has Marionettes Incorporated been in business?
Secretly for 2 years.
Well, could is there a possibility?
Smith took his friend's elbow earnestly. Can you tell me where I can get one? A robot, a marionette for myself? You will give me the address, won't you? Here you are.
Smith took the card and turned it around and around. Thank you, he said. You don't know what this means.
Just a little respite. A night or so, once a month even. My wife loves me so much, she can't even bear to have me gone an hour. I love her dearly, you know, but remember the old poem, love will fly if held too lightly, love will die if held too tightly. I just want her to relax her grip a little bit. Well, you're lucky at least that your wife loves you. Hate's my problem. It's not so easy.
Oh, Nettie loves me madly.
It'll be my task to make her love me comfortably. Well, good luck to you, Smith. Now, do drop around while I'm in Rio. It will seem strange if you suddenly stop calling by to my wife. You're to treat Brayling, too, here, just like me.
Right. Goodbye, and thank you.
Smith went smiling down the street. Brayling and Brayling, too, turned and walked into the apartment hall. On the crosstown bus, Smith whistled softly, turning the white card in his fingers. Clients must be pledged to secrecy, it said, for while an act is pending in Congress to legalize Marionettes Incorporated, it is still a felony if caught to use one. Well, said Smith, clients must have a mold made of their body and a color index made of their eyes, lips, hair, skin, and so forth. Clients must expect to wait for 2 months until the model is finished. Not so long, thought Smith. 2 months from now, my ribs will have a chance to mend from the crushing they've taken. 2 months from now, my hand will heal from being so constantly held. 2 months from now, my bruised underlip will begin to reshape itself. I don't mean to sound ungrateful. He flipped the card over. Marionettes Incorporated is 2 years old and has a fine record of satisfied customers behind it. Our motto is, no strings attached. Address, 43 South Wesley Drive. The bus pulled to a stop. He alighted, and while humming up the stairs, he thought, Nettie and I have $15,000 in our joint bank account. I'll just slip $8,000 out as a business venture, you might say. The Marionette will probably pay back my money with interest in any way. Nettie needn't know. He unlocked the door, and the moment was in the bedroom. There lay Nettie, pale, huge, and piously asleep. Dear Nettie, almost overwhelmed with remorse at her innocent face there in the semi-darkness. If you were awake, you would smother me with kisses and coo in my ear. Really, you make me feel like a criminal. You have been such a good, loving wife. Sometimes it is impossible for me to believe you married me instead of that Bud Chapman you once liked. It seems that in the last month you have loved me more wildly than ever before. And tears came to his eyes. Suddenly, he wished to kiss her, confess his love, tear up the card, forget the whole business. But as he moved to do this, his hand ached and his ribs cracked and groaned, and he stopped with a pained look in his eyes and turned away. He moved out into the hall and through the dark rooms. Humming, he opened the kidney desk in the library and filched the bank book. Just take $8,000 is all, he said. No more than that. He stopped. Wait a minute. He rechecked the bank book frantically. Hold on, he cried. $10,000 is missing. He leaped up. There's only $5,000 left. What's she done? What's Nettie done with it? More hats, more clothes, more perfume. Oh, wait, I know. She bought that little house in the Hudson she's been talking about for months without so much as a buyer leave. He stormed in the bedroom, righteous and indignant. What did she mean taking their money like this? He bent over her. Nettie, he shouted. Nettie, wake up! She did not stir. What have you done with my money? He bellowed. She stirred fitfully. The light from the street flushed over her beautiful cheeks. There was something about her. His heart throbbed violently. His tongue dried. He shivered. His knees suddenly turned to water. He collapsed. Nettie, Nettie, what have you done with my money? And then the horror thought. And then the terror and the loneliness engulfed him. And then the fever and disillusionment. For, without desiring to do so, he bent forward and yet forward, again until his fevered ear was resting firmly and irrevocably upon her round bosom. Nettie, he cried. As Smith walked away down the avenue in the night, Brayling and Brayling, too, turned in at the door to the apartment. I'm glad he'll be happy, too, said Brayling. Yes, said Brayling, too, abstractedly. Well, it's the cellar box for you, B2. Brayling guided the other creature's elbow down the stairs to the cellar. And that's what I want to talk to you about, said Brayling, too, as they reached the concrete floor and walked across it. The cellar, I don't like it. I don't like that toolbox. I'll try and fix up something more comfortable. Marionettes are made to move, not lie still. How would you like to lie in a box most of the time? You wouldn't like it at all. I keep running. There's no way to shut me off. I'm perfectly alive and I have feelings. It'll only be a few days now. I'll be off to Rio and you won't have to stay in the box. You can live upstairs. Brayling, too, gestured irritably. And when you come back from having a good time, back in the box I go, Brayling said. They didn't tell me at the marionette shop that I'd get a difficult specimen. There's a lot they don't know about us, said Brayling, too. We're pretty new, and we're sensitive. I hate the idea of you going off and laughing and lying in the sun in Rio while we're stuck here in the cold. But I've wanted that trip all my life, said Brayling quietly. He squinted his eyes and could see the sea and the mountains and the yellow sand. The sound of the waves was good to his inward mind. The sun was fine on his bared shoulders. The wine was most excellent. I'll never get to Rio, said the other man. Have you ever thought of that? No. And another thing, your wife. What about her? Asked Brayling, beginning to edge toward the door. I've grown quite fond of her. I'm glad you're enjoying your employment. Brayling licked his lips nervously. I'm afraid you don't understand. I think I'm in love with her. Brayling took another step and froze. You're what? And I've been thinking, said Brayling too, how nice it is in Rio, and how I'll never get there. And I thought about your wife, and I think we could be very happy. That's nice. Brayling strolled as casually as he could to the cellar door. You won't mind waiting a moment, will you? I have to make a phone call. To whom? Brayling too frowned. No one important. To Marionettes Incorporated, to tell them to come get me. No, nothing like that. He tried to rush out the door. A metal firm grip seized his wrists. Don't run! Take your hand off! No! Did my wife put you up to this? No. Did she guess? Did she talk to you? Does she know? Is that it? He screamed. A hand clapped over his mouth. You never know, will you? Brayling struggled. She must have guessed. She must have affected you. Brayling too said, I'm going to put you in the box, lock it, and lose the key. Then I'll buy another Rio ticket for your wife. Now wait a minute. All right. Don't be rash. Let's talk this over. Goodbye, Brayling. Brayling stiffened. What do you mean? Goodbye. 10 minutes later, Mrs. Brayling awoke. She put her hand to her cheek. Someone had just kissed it. She shivered and looked up. Why? You haven't done that in years. Well, we'll see what we can do.